everyone, I am British and this is Epic Tabletop, when we strive to give you best hobby experience. Now, today I have for you yet another battle report. This time it is small in scope but very dramatic nevertheless. It is 13th century battle report concerning Bohemian vs Polish from Silesia region. This battle report was caused by Styriwar and their miniatures. These are miniatures that I reviewed some time ago. If you didn't see it, check it out, link in the description. These are 3D printed miniatures. Pretty much all of them except the banner guy, Silesian banner guy. So this is a miniature from Futsal Miniatures, but the rest is Styriwar miniatures. I just love those miniatures, and I was sort of like compelled to play some battle with them. Well, for now it is small in scope. I do have much bigger plans concerning these miniatures, but well, like I said, for now this will suffice, I suppose, because I also said it's a small skirmish battle report but very dramatic. Rules that are being used to play this game are actually fantasy rules called Song of Blade and Heroes. It's a wonderful system. If you haven't played, check it out, because they have one of the best activation system in all of the industry. At least that's what I think. Anyway, I shaved off, of course, the fantasy elements, so there are no fantasy elements in this battle report. I actually added something also, because I felt that the central figures of this game, these are mounted knights, especially mounted knights. So I felt like they need something special to, give them some boost. So I came up with some simple, mounted knight rules. I am talking about them a bit during the game, so I'm sure you will, easily figure out what's the deal. I will have some, closing words after the battle, so stick around if you're interested. Now just would like to ask you to consider subscribing to my channel, and of course also liking and commenting the materials, well, if you fancy them. And now, well, let's just do some battle.
Both teams start on the road on opposite ends of the tabletop. The game is being played for the control of 3 objectives. Points will be awarded at the end of each turn to the team that holds given objective. 1 point for 2 objectives on extremes, namely house and storehouse, and 2 points for middle objective, the mill. If any team gets hold of an objective close to their enemy's starting point, 3 points will be awarded. Points are also granted for killing enemy retainers, 1 point, killing enemy knights, 3 points. The game will end when either side destroys the opponent or causes him to flee the battlefield. Initiative role was won by the Poles. They are led by a local landowner and a knight named Bogdan, and he is the first to activate. He is aiming for 3 actions, therefore he rolls 3 dice looking for 3 pluses results. And he succeeds entirely. Now he will use one of his actions to order a group of his 5 retainers to activate. They will have to roll for activation, but only once, and the result will apply to all of them. They choose to roll for 2 actions, and they will need also 3 pluses since their lord is nearby, thus granting them +1 to quality roll. Unfortunately for the Silesians, they score 1 success and 1 fail, and that grants immediate reactions for check warband. Crossbowman moves forward, trying to lessen the distance before using his deadly weapon. Now the group of Polish retainers can do 1 action each. They advance forward, followed closely by Knight Bogdan, who is in charge of the whole group. Now Archer activates. He is still in range of his lord, therefore he activates on 3+. Decides to try with 3 actions. Unfortunately he fails one, thus giving a chance to react to the Bohemians. Archer uses this opportunity to move forward. Now Polish marksman is able to move, which he does twice. The last to activate is crossbowman, who also risks 3 activations. Yet again, one failure gives a chance to react to the Bohemians. Crossbowman moves forward yet again. Now Polish retainer uses his 2 actions to move twice. This concludes Silesian phase. Now it is time for Bohemian warriors to activate. They are also being led by a mounted knight whose name is Fratislav. Yet, unlike Poles, there is a second knight on foot named Jędrzych. Very dangerous combatant, yet command rests solely with Fratislav. He will act first with an intent to order a group next to him to activate. Therefore, he risks 3 dice roll. There is 1 fail, allowing Poles to react. Silesian spearman moves and occupies one of the objectives. Now back to Czech warriors. Fratislav gives an order for group activation and uses his 1 remaining action to trot forward 1 move. His retainers, along with Jędrzych, risks 3 dice activation roll and they succeed, allowing them to cover great distance in just 1 phase. Now Archer activates. He wants to claim close by objective, but in order to do so he needs to move, hence 2 activations. He tries 3 just in case of a failure, and he succeeds, allowing Bohemians to seize their first objective. Furthermore, since the archer has still 1 action left, he decides to send an arrow in the direction of his counterpart. Distance is substantial and there is an obstacle on the way, therefore he will shot at -3. Small chances of achieving anything, but you never know. Both archers have combat 3, so Bohemian dice roll must be much greater than his opponent. He rolls a 1, which signifies some trouble. Obviously his shot misses, but now he has to roll again, and if he scores another 1, his bowstring will break. Fortunately for the Bohemian archer, this did not happen. His activation ends now. Last to activate is crossbowman. He is in range of his lord, so he also tries to roll for 3 actions. This misfires badly as he fails twice. 2 failures provide an opportunity for the opposing team to end the active player phase and begin theirs. But in this particular case, Bohemian phase is almost over anyway, so more beneficial for Poles will react twice, allow crossbowmen his 1 action, and then, in a normal order, begin their phase. Silesians react by moving their both shooters closer to cover. Polish knight Bogdan rolls for 2 actions, and he succeeds. He gives an order for group activation. Group rolls for 2 actions and succeeds. Then 3 of them move down the road while the bannerman goes for the objective. Then the knight uses his remaining action to move ahead of the group. Spearman, no longer needed on the objective, rolls for 2 actions in order to join his companions. Unfortunately, he fails once, prompting a reaction from Bohemians. Crossbowman moves, staying in shadow of a tree. Then Spearman continues his activation, and he uses his 1 action to join his companions. Crossbowman plans to roll for 2 actions, which will allow him to move once and then release his bolt against one of his master's enemies. Proximity to his lord grants him success on 3+. Unfortunately, he fails once. As a reaction, Bohemian crossbowman aims and shoots at the Polish knight. Distance allows him to ignore armor and to roll with no penalties. But he misses completely. He needs to reload his weapon again using 1 action, before firing again. Polish crossbowman finishes his activation by moving slightly forward. Archer now activates, aiming for 2 actions, but he also fails one of his dice roll, giving opportunity to Bohemian crossbowman to reload. Afterwards, he takes up position behind cover. Ratislav goes for 2 actions, but he only manages 1. Therefore, after giving an order to his group, he is unable to do anything else. The group decides to risk it and goes for 3 actions, succeeding spectacularly. Bohemians start their activations, beginning with the knight Jędrzej. He goes for the objective. Spearmen and one of the sergeants join him, claiming the objective and getting ready to defend it. Second of the sergeant has a different priorities. It is obvious that Poles has a numerical advantage here, so all-out brawl does not seem to favor Bohemians. Therefore, this sergeant will try to do a risky thing and force Poles to divide their forces. He will try to accomplish that by attacking Silesian shooters. His 3 actions are enough to reach the crossbowman. He cannot initiate actual attack, but both of the combatants now counted as if in combat. Now the crossbowman have a chance to use his weapon. He takes aim at the Polish knight and rolls for 2 actions. His commander is too far away to use his quality bonus, therefore crossbowman needs 4 pluses to succeed. He accomplishes that with ease. He takes aim and his crossbow malfunctions. Now he has to roll again to see if his weapon will function next round. If he rolls 1, it means that crossbow got damage beyond field repair. What a misfortune! This highly sophisticated weapon got damaged and it cannot be repaired during this game. Crossbowman usefulness got severely limited. Last Bohemian activation belonged to the archer, but he had very limited options if he wanted to stay on the objective. Therefore, he passed his activation, ending turn number 2. Despite all the setbacks that have befallen Bohemians, they hold mail, which grants them 2 points, and their house 1 point. Poles, on the other hand, are in position of storehouse only for 1 point. With the beginning of turn 3, Poles are in a bit of a situation. As explained, the game ends when whichever side gets 12 points. Poles are losing now 4-2, which doesn't seem very dangerous, but it may escalate fast. If Bohemians are allowed to keep the position of mill and house, they will get another 4 points. Also, if their sergeant manages to defeat Polish shooters, that's another 2 points, and all of that is way too close for comfort for the Polish commander. Therefore, he needs to make some hard decisions and probably divide his forces, and that is exactly what the Bohemian commander had in mind. Bogdan, Polish knight, decides to charge foot group of Bohemians guarding the mill. He will use an ability that only mounted knights can use. Name of that ability is rather telling. It is called Scatter Them Peasants. It allows a knight using 2 actions and being this short from his target to execute a charge at an individual or a group. If charging a group, every one of the foot soldiers that is in base contact with the attacked model need to pass quality test. If test is passed, they recoil in a normal fashion. If it is failed, they are knocked down. Additionally, knight is allowed 1 free hack against any of the opponents. One important thing in this particular situation is that what I just said is true, except for a foot soldier with spear. He is allowed to fight normally against charging opponent. In fact, he will actually add +2 to his combat, while knight loses his normal +1 for being mounted and fighting enemies on foot. Bogdan here is taking a great risk. He may be dismounted, putting him at the mercy of his enemies or potentially even killed. Yet, like I said before, Poles need to take some risks in order to catch up to Bohemians. Bogdan decides to roll for 3 actions. And it seems that fortune favors the bold as he succeeds with all 3 dice. Polish Knight spurs his horse and charges into his enemies. Now Bohemian Foot Knight and Surgeon need to roll quality tests. Jędrzej the Knight passes the test, yet he must recoil, leaving the objective. Sergeant failed the test and he's knocked down. Polish Knight attempts to strike him with his free arc, but he fails miserably. Finally, Spearman attacks Bogdan, and he wins the fight, which is potentially very dangerous for mounted warrior. But Polish Knight is heavily armored, which allows him to add +1 to his dice roll if he loses, and that is enough to even the score, so basically neither of the combatants is harmed. It is worth mentioning, as the armor fail, Bogdan still could use his shield, as he has ability Expert Block. Mounted knights are truly a tough nut to crack. After all the rolls are resolved, Knight who used Scatter Them Peasants must continue his movement, since what we just witnessed is to simulate charging cavalrymen through foot troops and hacking at them as he goes. Now, Bogdan's charge did not accomplish anything dramatic, but it did put remaining Poles in somewhat advantageous position. With some luck, Sergeants and Spearmen can group activate and gang on some Bohemians that got separated. Attacking knockdown Bohemian fighter would be particularly good. Therefore, Polish group decides to activate and roll for 3 actions. Their failure is spectacular, as they manage to roll 3 fails. This causes the Bohemian commander to capture the initiative, ending the Polish phase and beginning his own. Vratislav, Bohemian Knight in charge of the force, is weighing his options. He decides to roll for 3 actions. He accomplishes 2 with 1 failure. As a reaction, Polish Knight changes his position, removing himself from Vratislav's range while simultaneously threatening the archer. Furthermore, Vratislav is now in a tough spot. He can't leave to go and help his retainers, because he would risk losing house objective, which is worth 3 whooping points to Poles. On the other hand, he may try to take down the Polish Knight and gain 3 points for doing just that. He chooses this very option and uses his 2 actions to tie up Bogdan in combat. Now Archer activates. He was planning to shoot Polish Knight, which obviously is impossible. He decides to join his lord in the combat, possibly contributing to the score. In order to do so, he will stop scoring the objective, and he needs at least 2 actions. He goes for it. Unfortunately, he fails once. This, of course, prompts a reaction from Silesians. One to react is Bogdan himself. It seems he understood what Bohemians are trying to do, so he decides to take matters in his own hands. With his 1 reaction, he initiates combat, striking against Vratislav. Both combatants are evenly matched, so dice will decide. Polish Knight is a clear winner here. Vratislav can use his heavily armored ability, but in this situation it won't change anything. Bohemian Knight uses his shield. On 4+, he can lower the combat result to more favorable, meaning out of action becomes knockdown, knockdown becomes recoil, and recoil becomes a draw. Vratislav takes his chance, but it fails. Combat on horse works differently. Out of action is the same, but with result recoil and knockdown, loser must roll again. In this case, Polish Knight won with recoil result. Vratislav rolls a die. 1-2 will mean nothing happens and fight will continue. 3-5 he will recoil as per rules, and 6 means that the horse got spooked and dropped the rider. Fortunately for Vratislav, nothing happens. It is not an outcome Bogdan was hoping for, though. Now Archer needs to finish his activation, but with 1 action available, he decides to stay put. Bohemian marksman whose weapon got damaged activates. There is no reason for him to occupy his shooting position anymore. Therefore, he decides to help his lord in combat. He tries for 2 activations, but fails one. This prompts a reaction from Polish archer who decides to shoot the crossbowman before he'll get a chance to put his plan into motion. He aims and shoots, scoring a hit, yet the result is only recoil, causing crossbowman to move slightly backward. Now the marksman will use his one remaining activation. He wants to aid his master in combat. In order to do so, he needs to jump over the fence first. He could do this the safe way by using one action to approach the fence and another to cross it, yet he can't due to failure he rolled earlier. Therefore, he will try to jump over the fence by moving to it, then smoothly jumping over by passing quality test, and then continue his movement on the other side. He runs toward the obstacle and fails the test, dropping flat on the ground and finishing his activation. Now Sergeant, who boldly engaged Polish shooters, activates. He rolls 2 dice. He has a quality of 4, but he is also drilled, therefore he has +1 while rolling for actions. And he succeeds twice. Straight away he attacks the crossbow and kills him outright, since his score is double the roll of Silesian. This grants automatically 1 point for the Bohemians. His remaining activation is used to engaged bowman, who no doubt is now terrified by his colleague's sudden demise. Other sergeant now activates. He needs to stand up before any of the Poles catches up with him. He rolls for 2 actions and fails one. Polish reaction is to rush one of the spearmen toward engaged bowman in hope to prevent his demise from the hands of the Bohemian sergeant. Spearman doesn't make it just yet, but he is now a threat. Now Sergeant, who activated, uses his one action to stand up. The knight on foot, Jędrzej, activates now. He boldly goes for 3 actions, so he can intercept incoming spearmen, but he scores only 2 successes, giving a chance to Poles. They activate one of the sergeants, who joins spearmen, basically ruining Jędrzej's plan. Yet the knight chooses to do what he intended in the first place, sort of. He uses his 2 actions to engage with freshly arrived Silesian retainer. The new plan is to activate the spearman next, so we can actually attack Poles, gaining bonus from Jędrzej. The problem is that there are 2 actions needed for the spearman to put this plan in motion. He activates on 4 pluses, therefore the risk of failure is great. But both rolls are successful and spearman attacks with assist from the knight. Still, their situation is not great, since Polish sergeant will get assist from his spearman. Therefore, the combat score before the rolls are made is 3-4 in favor of Poles. The dice are cast and Bohemians win, but since attacked sergeant is heavily armored, the score is amended by 1, which leads to a draw. Fight will continue soon, no doubt. This ends turn number 3. The score for the Bohemians in this turn is 3, giving them 7 points in total. Poles scored only 1 point, which gives them 4 in total. Silesians are to activate first. Their instinct is to fuel more men to the fight in the middle, but this distracts them from the fact that if current situation with objectives remain unchanged in this turn, Bohemians will get another 3 points. If they will manage to kill Polish knight or 2 other Silesian retainers, they will win the game automatically by scoring 12 points. Therefore, Poles are against their instinct to alter their plans. Sergeant activates and goes for 3 actions. Because of his drilled ability, he needs 3 pluses, and he succeeds with all of his rolls. With 2 actions, he rushes Bohemian guarding the mill objective. With 3rd, he attacks him. Both fighters are evenly matched. Dice will decide. And Polish Sergeant wins the fight. The score is not high enough to kill his opponent, but it is an even number, so Czech fighter will fall to the ground, giving Polish retainer serious advantage in following activations. But Bohemian has got a shield and block ability. He can change the outcome from fall to recoil if he managed to use his shield. He needs to roll 5+. He fails those, falling to the ground. Being knocked down prohibits from scoring, so the whole venture paid off for the Poles, stopping Bohemians from scoring the mill this turn. At least for now, that is. Second Polish spearman is trying to join the fight in the middle and further assist the surgeon. He needs 2 actions, looking for 4 pluses. He fails twice, and Bohemian player decides to snatch the initiative from the Poles and start his own round. First to roll for activation is Foot Knight Jędrzej. He goes for 2 actions, needing only 2s to accomplish that. Still, the risk is great, because if he fails, reaction from Poles will surely feature Sergeant next to the mill, who can attack Bohemian fighter there with a great advantage. Jędrzej rolls and gets his 2 activations with no problem. He decides to use Power Blow ability against the Silesian Sergeant, granting +1 to his score. It is worth noting that if Jędrzej rolls natural 6 and wins, Polish Sergeant will be killed outright because of the heavy weapon threat that Bohemian Knight has. The dice score, however, is not something that Bohemian Knight would hope for. After counting all bonuses and using Polish Sergeant trait, score is still in favor of the Bohemians. The outcome causes Polish Sergeant to lose his balance. He is now considered knocked down. Still, not the dramatic result Jędrzej was aiming for. In order to gain from this situation, Bohemian Spearman now activates and boldly goes for 2 actions. He needs 4 pluses. He succeeds and attacks knockdown Sergeant again. Situation grants him +2 to his score and another +1 from assisting Knight. Also, combat is considered lethal now, meaning win for the Czech fighters will cause out of action for the Polish Sergeant. Unfortunately, Bohemians roll poorly, losing the fight, which in this situation means Silesian Sergeant prevailing with no harm. Now Sergeant, who previously disposed of Polish crossbowman, activates. He goes for 2 activation, needing only 3 pluses. Unfortunately, he gets only 1 success. This is dire, as it gives a reaction to the Silesian Sergeant next to the mill. He attacks his downed opponent. This time it seems like Bohemian will not survive. He loses the fight, and his only chance now is to use his shield to deflect death blow. Since he is considered down, only natural 6 will do. Unfortunately, this was not to be, and Bohemian Sergeant is slain. This gives 1 additional point to Polish warband. Czech Sergeant now can use his 1 action. He attacks the bowman and loses terribly. Lucky for him, he is heavily armored, otherwise he would die, since bowman result was twice as much as his. He also tries to use his shield to further amend the result, but he fails yet again and ends up knocked down to the ground. It seems like luck has abandoned Bohemian fighters. They now need some decisive actions in order to stay in the game. Bratislav decides to go for 2 actions in order to attack his Polish opponent. He wants to be able to use Power Blow, and this ability needs 2 actions to activate. His roll is a success. Now he puts all of his skill into striking at his enemy, and his failure is complete. If it was not for a power blow he used, he would have been doubled and possibly killed as an outcome of his attack. Current result for Vratislav is knockdown, which while mounted can be devastating. Bohemian Knight has this one chance to deflect blows with his shield. His ability, Expert Block, allows him to do just that on 4+. He succeeds and lower his loss to recoil result. He still need to roll again to see what happens, but this is nowhere near as dangerous as rolling for result with knockdown outcome. Result of 1-3 in this case means nothing happens. This outcome is very fortunate for Vratislav considering original result. Still, in the end, this fight did not go the Bohemians Knight's way at all. Crossbowman, who failed jumping the fence, activates and goes for 2 actions. He fails one, prompting a swift reaction from Poles. Bowman attacks down the Bohemian Sergeant and wins. Fight is lethal, so only shield blocked remains as a means of hope for Czech warriors. He needs natural 6s. And he fails. Silesian delivers the death blow, finishing yet another Bohemian retainer and granting 1 more point to Polish cause. Now, using his 1 remaining action, Crossbowman stands up. Last of Bohemians activates. The bowman has now a clear field of fire toward Polish sergeant holding the mill objective. Eliminating him, or at least causing him to recoil and leave the objective mark, would be a great feat. Bohemian luck has turned for the worse in this fight, and something must be done or they will surely lose. Bowman goes for 2 activation, needing only 3+ since his lord is nearby. Unfortunately, he scores 1 failure, granting a reaction to Silesians. Polish sergeant uses it to regain his footing. Now Bowman takes aim and releases his arrow. Sadly, it is a miss. This concludes turn number 4. Poles gained 2 points for slaying 2 Bohemian retainers. They also hold the mill and storehouse, taking them to 8 points in total. Bohemian get only 1 point for holding house objective. It is a draw. For now. Poles starts with Bowman activation. He wants to join the combat in the middle. He fails one of his activation though. Jędrzej, Bohemian Foot Knight, uses this chance to attack Polish sergeant. Unfortunately, the fight result is a draw and status quo remains. Now Bowman, using his remaining activation, joins the fight. Now it is Silesian sergeant that activates on 1 die and attack Bohemian spearman. He wins the fight and forces the spearman back. Action now turns toward knightly duel. Polish knight Bogdan goes for 2 activations, but he fails one. This activates Crossbowman, who is getting ever closer to join the fight on behalf of his Bohemian lord. Using his 1 remaining action, Silesian knight attacks Vratislav. He wins with recoiled result for Czech, who tries to use his shield, with no effect. His roll on recoil table causes him to back off. Bogdan, Polish knight, chooses not to re-engage for now. With this activation, Poles finished their round. Bohemians are certainly in a hard spot right now. Plan is to put some extra effort into killing Polish leader Bogdan. First, Crossbowman activates cautiously on 1 die, and uses this 1 action to further tie up Silesian lord in fight. Bowman now goes for 2 actions. His goal is to leave his post and join the fight. He succeeds, throwing his weight into incoming fight. Finally, Vratislav activates. He needs two actions, one to join the fight and second to strike at Polish knight with assistance from his two retainers. He is looking for 3+. Bad luck strikes again and Vratislav gets one failure. This pretty much ruins whole Bohemian plan. Reaction gets Polish sergeant in the middle to strike against Bohemian foot knight Jędrzej. Sergeant is backed by additional 2 fighters, so initial scores favors him. Poles win, but heavy armor protects Jędrzej well, and final result is draw. Now back to Bohemian Lord in charge of Warband. The only thing he can do is to further tie up Polish knight. One action is enough to join the fight, but not enough to actively attack your opponent. In the middle, Bohemian foot knight bravely decides to attack with power blow. In order to do so, he needs 2 actions. Unfortunately, he gets one failure, which causes yet another Polish retainer to get closer. With his one action, he chooses to attack Polish bowman. He wins the fight, forcing bowman out of combat. But that's all. This activation ends Bohemian round and turn number 5. Czech Warband gets no points this time, while Silesians gets 3, which gets them to 12 and causes victory for the Polish knight and his retinue. The meal and its revenue will now go to local Polish authority.
Well, the battle is over. I think I didn't lie when I said it was very dramatic. Although, apart from the thing that you miscalculated points and this could go on, and well, you never know, the Czech, the Bohemians could actually kill the Polish knight, but still, the Poles were in a very advantageous position at this point of the game, and I think they would have won nevertheless. Having said that, I think some rules, some statistics for the combatants need tweaking, I think. And also, there are some pretty cool rules. Like you probably noticed, I was talking a lot about dismounting a knight. Yeah, so I prepared dismounted versions of both of my knights. Well, unfortunately, they didn't get to be used. Also, there was this banner guy, because there are very cool, the rules concerning morale and how the morale works. So the bannerman is very cool thing to have. Actually, well, it didn't come to play, so maybe next time. That is, if you're going to like this report, and if you're going to watch it, if it gets enough clicks, if I may say so, I'll probably do some more, because it was actually pretty cool. I liked it. I enjoyed it very much. So that's it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed this little battle. And if you didn't enjoy that, well, anyway, thank you very much for watching. And again, to all of you, please consider subscribing and commenting and liking. This helps greatly, gives me some fuel to do more. And it also helps with somewhat magical YouTube algorithm system. So yeah, well, thank you again, and well, till next time. Cheers!